Hey everybody, I'm Brock back again today, and got a really interesting conversation on when to get out of the way. I think one of the things that's really tough as a startup owner founder is figuring out when, like, when are you not the right person? When do I have the right people? Am I not the right person? And how to hand it off. And so that's what I'm going to be talking about today is making sure that as far as your team is concerned, that sometimes it's just time for you to stop. And I'm going to give you a really simple example because if you saw the video yesterday, you would have seen that these shelves being like not very good. Like it just wasn't great. There was stuff on the shelf and it was displayed, but it didn't look like the bookstore it's supposed to kind of look like. And so this and when you hire that first employee or you get that first person, it's tricky sometimes to know, is it okay to pass it off? Is it okay to do something different? So anyway, long and the short of it is, I think the other tricky thing is when you hire your kids, it can get really tricky too because you've got a whole family dynamic on top of the normal work dynamic. But to be honest, I wouldn't trade that for anything. I love working with my kids. We've got a really great working relationship, but it's because I spend a lot of time working on that aspect of it. So what I want to talk about though is like when to get out of the way. And like I said, I've been doing this for 9 years, like Towers of Light as a thing, like from writing the first book to putting out, this whole media thing we're doing. It's been a 9 year journey. It's kind of my baby, and so to invite my kids into it as a business, that was kind of tricky, but it also fit right. And I think one of the important things about startups is, did you hire like early on? Did you hire talented generalists? And that's the fortunate thing I have in hiring my kids is they're all pretty good at a lot of different things. And there's a few things they're really good at, but they're good at a lot of different things. So you can kind of pass this here, pass that there, or whatever. But since we're all generalists to a certain extent, there's a level of, well, everybody can do everything. So anybody can do anything. It's kind of how this works out. So I think the first thing to know is, as you've been doing the same job all the time, and now you're like, well, and this is the struggle I have is like they say CEOs are supposed to do CEO stuff and stop doing other things. Or like, are you spending your time on $1,000 tasks instead of $10 tasks? So as I'm thinking about this and trying to figure some things out and working through things with my kids, one of the big questions comes up, are the people on my team, for a given job, the right people? Because we're all generalists, but in some cases, none of us are good at a thing. And so it doesn't really matter who does it. And so maybe taking them off the task they're doing is bad because you just need to do it, right? Like you can't do CEO stuff all the time. And so I'll give you a silly example of this. One of the things we have to do here is we have to load audio devices, right? Like these devices that we sell. We have to put software on them. Well, it's not even software; it's just the media content, right? You got to put MP3 files on them. Super easy task. You plug stuff into a USB, unplug stuff. It's really not hard. Anybody can do it, but it's one of those jobs that really doesn't also have to be done like right now. Okay, as long as we've got stock, you don't need to do this job. Like nobody needs to do this. It can kind of sit, but over time, like what we want to do is we want to always be like at least a certain amount of shelf on the shelf ready to go, even though there's stuff often, Amazon warehouses and other stuff. So anyway, but for whatever reason, I can remember this needs to be done. Like just, oh yeah, I started one. I remember, and in 30 minutes I can come back and swap it out and do the next one and all this sort of stuff. But other people, like, they've got to be in the flow. Like this is what they're doing. So the long and the short of it is today I had one of these things where it's not really like CEO work. It's not something I should be doing necessarily, but it's got to get done. And I was working through a bunch of little tasks, right? Like I just recorded the database in audio. And so I was putting those files into the system to make them, for sale. But then between that, there was dealing with some advertisers, dealing with this. And so it was pretty easy, get up to get a cup of coffee, go check the things, reprogram it, do the next thing. It's a 2-minute task in between getting coffee. It's really not that big of a deal. But what was interesting today in specific was I might not be the right person to do that job, right? Like CEO, shouldn't I be doing more important things? But it's got to get done. And the rest of the team was doing their important job, right? Like somebody was doing this, somebody was doing that. We're all doing some things. So anyway, long and the short of it is, we had another task we were trying to do. As we were getting ready for a live stream I was going to do, and with a like a podcast interview I was doing. But we really wanted this to look good. Like yesterday, it was okay, something I did, and I had an idea what I wanted it to look like, but I actually have no like retail store experience, right? I've done booths and I've been to trade shows, but not actually setting up a retail store. It's just not been my job. On the other hand, my daughter worked in retail stores for like many years. Like that was one of her first jobs, and she did that a lot. And she has an eye for this kind of thing. So, in asking the question, are you the right person for the job? I wasn't really the right person to figure this out. I might have put something together, but it wouldn't look as like this looks put together. This looks like something you would see in a store. Um, and so I just let her go to that, and I went over and programmed some devices, right? Like pretty easy. I think that the big thing is that's a simple delegation thing, right? Like that was in the moment. There was no, I was waiting to go do my live thing anyway. This needed to be done before I did it. She did that. I programmed things. All good. No big deal. So then I think, but in that's not, how do I put this? That's a simple thing. Like those are just tasks. The other side of it is there are jobs, right? There are like bigger things that need to be done that take a long period of time, that take some skill, take some practice, take some effort. And when do you fire yourself is basically what it boils down to. So I'll give you an example of one of the things that I was doing because it had a lot of financial implications to it was I was managing the Amazon ad spend. Okay, so like that's real money going out the door for what we spend, and tuning that ad spend is really where you make, if you're spending, the challenge with that kind of work though is it takes sort of dedicated focus week to week to week. And quite frankly, I've got lots of other things to do. I need to work with partners. I need to order equipment. I need to do lots of things. And so it was one of those things that basically I had to fire myself from and say, okay, my daughter, Lauren, you're going to do the operations management. Like you're going to manage that part of the operation. I'm going to give you a general rubric of how to do this. And then I got to fire myself. Like I can't touch it. And I literally just don't touch the Amazon ads anymore. Like I might be able to do something there, but I just don't do it because she actually knows it a lot better than I do. And if I get a market hypothesis, I say, hey, why don't we try this? She understands what I'm talking about very deeply, like as far as how to implement that or what might be the caveats or the edge cases in that. But then the other thing is she just makes up her own stuff, and that's what I think is great about once you get your team cooking and you know what's going on, is this idea of just sort of regularly asking yourself, hey, do I need to fire myself from this and just let the team do their thing? And what I love about that is the more I've fired myself from things, the better stuff has gotten, right? Because I'm not the right person for every single job. And while we are all sort of, good generalists, it's very easy for someone's bent on the team to get, really focused on a thing and spend a lot of time on it because they enjoy it, right? I think one of the things that we have worked out of work is sort of the joy of work, right? If you've got two different people that are both highly capable, but one of them sincerely enjoys the challenge and the operational task and how it works, and the other's just as good but just doesn't enjoy it, you're going to get very different outcomes. And so I think that's the other thing about firing yourself from stuff, especially if you just hate doing something. Even if you might be the best person, if the second best person really enjoys doing it, you're going to get a better outcome in the long run. So, to me, I think the real trick of this whole startup thing in life and what I've been doing for the last 9 years is slowly figuring out where I need to fire myself and just sometimes walk away from a job. Like it's literally like, look, this needs to get done. I'm not the right person. You obviously are. Can you just do this? Right now, I am not saying, I guess to close this out, I'm not saying leave the worst jobs for somebody else. Like that kind of delegation is horrible. It's bad management to just say take something you just don't like and throw it to somebody because it's hard or ugly or whatever, right? Like at the end of the day, if you're going to fire yourself from a job, it should be because the person picking it up is in some way more capable, even if that more capability is just they like it better than you do. But the net of it is if you're just giving other people, crappy jobs you don't want to do, that's not okay. Like that's not going to work in the long run. You're gonna burn out your employees. You're gonna create resentment, things like that. So you do need to be careful as you're firing yourself from jobs. But I'm very surprised at some of the stuff that's come up. Like even this video setup. If you saw the video yesterday, the whole thing. Well, I did a little barnyard carpentry on the light rig. The actual important stuff, the cameras and the zooms and all of that was done by my son-in-law and my son, who just understand that. And I'm just a random passerby standing in front of the camera talking when they really tuned it all up and made it something that really works. So, like I said, as you're going about the startup life, understand that you're going to have to start firing yourself from things. And sometimes it's things you like doing. I think that's the worst part about it is in some cases you actually like the job you're firing yourself from, but you're just not the best person to do it. I know I'm looking forward to the day I can finally fire myself entirely from all of any sort of graphic design. My ability to graphic design in PowerPoint is not enough to get this business where it needs to go. But at the same time, sometimes you just don't have the budget or the people to do things, and you got to do what you got to do. So anyway, hope you have a great weekend. I'll catch you all on Monday.